white and great. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose creatures you control one at a time until each creature you control has been chosen. Each of those creatures get +1/+1 until end of turn for each creature chosen before it. Places everyone. The first creature in line gets +0. So I'm a big fan of this card. There aren't enough cards in Commander, maybe even like Eternal formats, just like full end, full stop, that make aggro strategies viable. I think for the most part, if you play against some sort of strategy in Commander, it's probably gonna be combo based. I think this pushes there a little bit more, especially with a format where we have a bunch of viable 1 or 2 drops that sort of definitely like act as stacks pieces. This definitely allows you to push that because it's sort of like this Anthem effect that triggers for every creature on your field, and it's like pretty noticeable and will take a huge chunk of, I guess, of health out of your opponent. And I assume like at this point when you do cast it, say around like the Goldilocks, I would assume around turn 4 or 5, like you probably have like 3 creatures out at least, right? Like if you're playing an aggro deck, you're probably not playing too many mana rocks because your creatures are, and they probably have some sort of stacks or resource denial effect to them. So like getting this out plus what you're already doing with your creatures, probably gonna hurt a lot, right? Like this plus say you've got like your 1 drop is 1 power, your 2 drop is 2 power, 3 drop is 3 power, and you play this on turn 4. So then after that you have an extra 3 power every turn if you just consistently attack with just those creatures, which is pretty good, I think. And it's on a permanent type that is a lot harder to interact with as well. So I think because of that, this becomes a little stronger. And I know there are a lot of people who are just like playing token-based decks where it's just like a huge mess. This becomes like incredibly strong. I think it's like somewhat similar to Cathar's Crusade in that point. Cathar's Crusade probably a little stronger than this just because it's sort of an Anthem effect that is persistent. This is, I guess, strong in decks where like creature quality doesn't really matter and you're just going in for the kill because it's sort of like a temporary state-based effect where like you don't particularly care how those creatures get in, they just get in, and if they die it's like whatever, you're getting another trigger next turn. I think that's where the shine. So like token-based, big fan of this. I think it might be maybe a little too slow because I think the fact that it has the +0/+0 for the first creature might make it a little too slow, but I don't know, I could be wrong. There was a card that was played against Haven Stadium, and I was sort of like down on this card at first. I was like, there's no way people are gonna get, but then it happened. Like if you play an aggressively based deck and like particular cards just like are able to, you shouldn't sleep on them. Those cards can really do damage. And yes, the person who plays Strixhaven Stadium didn't kill me, but they were able to kill someone else. Just because like if you're playing definitely slower metas or metas that aren't, maybe they're just doing too much ramping, they're doing too much whatever dirtling, and you're playing a aggro deck, oh, by all means go in on them. You will definitely. It's funny too because people I think complain about control based decks sometimes that they're just playing their slow dirtle deck whatever, and you just beat them with aggro and they're just like, and they sort of think about it and they're like, yeah, I just hate playing against deck that lose again, because like this deck is a deck that plays like this sort of strat, even this sort of card, Starlight Spectre. It's definitely like a fair deck, but I think it's still pretty. Of course, let me know what y'all think about this card below. I think the fact that it's an enchantment triggers every combat, triggers immediately once you get it laid down. So if you have a bunch of creatures on the field already, you're getting immediate value. I will say though, I feel like it might be lacking a little bit. If you're like mid and below power level, or if you're able to sort of stacks the game, slow everyone else down just enough, probably worth a look. Probably worth a look. I think generally any sort of effect that Anthem's team, and this is like, I don't know, for like a super wide based deck, it's gonna be super good. It's gonna be super short. Just because like people generally work with quality, I feel like, in EDH, and if you're going with quantity, it's gonna be really hard for them to interact with pipes. And I think more people now, more than ever, are just like omitting board wipes. So yeah, I think this is a good card. But yeah, let me know what y'all think about this card. Comes from below. Next card is Exchange of Words. 1 and a blue for an enchantment. When Exchange of Words enters the battlefield, choose 2 target creatures for as long as Exchange of Words remains on the battlefield. Exchange the text boxes of those creatures. So this is, I think, Angrath and Ajani. I think it's really cute. What are they called? I don't want to say miniature. Mascots, right? Especially if you're working with, say, you've got your Dockside done its thing. It's been used up, like a dried sponge. Yeah, just like trade it in for their Urza. Trade your Dockside for the Urza. And then bam, for 3 mana. You didn't even have to pay 4 mana for an Urza. Although if you're playing blue, whatever card in your deck won, I don't know. I think it's a sweet card. This is a sweet card. I think the fact that it's an enchantment makes it harder, but also it's a way of removing a creature, and it's a way to remove a commander. I think the best use cases are to remove a commander or use a sort of a pseudo an event that you want to get rid of someone essentially for good, right? I mean, not good if they can get it back that way. But if they don't and they have to wait for this to remove, well, their card doesn't really do much. I think generally most people commanders that have instant effect and their text box. And so if it's like I said, Urza, if it's like a Urza, basically just remove their Urza. And you can pretty much think of any command. Like if they're playing like a Sisse, basically just remove their Sisse. Assuming you have like good target for the say you have like a deep glow, say it already ETB did its thing, exchange it with Sisse, it has flying, but like cares. That's a pretty good effect. And the best thing about this sort of enchantment too is it's an ETB in that you don't have to target, and then once it's ETB'd, it's kind of like, you know, kind of hard to remove. In the event that you want to use it, Value Engine, I think this card is really strong. You can use this to hit up any sort of Oracle Vulture Ramp you. Basically, like any sort of, I think any blue deck wants to play them. There's too many Dockside Sources. Although this can't be a Dockside Sources number, this could be a way to remove someone, especially for blue, for playing too many ways of bouncing it and countering it, but probably worth that. Not to forego traditional removal, but good reason to have this. Big fan of it, although I'm gonna hate it a lot. Actually not. I play too much white, one of the mill permanent. Maybe not too bad against me, but I can imagine people playing their. Can't say I haven't been there. Definitely looking at making a Rakdos deck after Infinite. Yeah, this will be a rough one. But let me know what y'all think about this. I think this is probably gonna be the worth slot, and sort of versus is I think one of my favorites that I'm probably never gonna play because it's not Nightcrawler like playing, but also the ability to do whatever it's trying to do is in another color. So maybe I'll be able to somehow play this card kind of sort of if you don't think about it. I don't know. This is Lifetime Pass Holder, a black for a creature zombie guest with Lifetime Pass Holder enters the battlefield tapped. When Lifetime Pass Holder dies, open an attraction. Whenever you roll to visit your attractions, if you roll a 6, you may return Lifetime Pass Holder graveyard to your battlefield 2/1. I think this is definitely going to be a better card to have if you have an attraction based deck. I think the fact that you can recur this for 1 black mana going to be pretty good. Also, I like the fact, side note, like the fact that it's a zombie. It's just like this Lifetime Pass Holder has been like riding the rides forever. It's like a dead zombie. It's like even after life, it's still riding these I guess on like rides or riding the amusement park. Yeah, I like the sleep. But I think this is one of those cards that like if attractions decks were to pop off, this is probably one of those that we put in it. For those of you who don't know what attractions are, I just didn't really know until recently. Basically, it's something along the lines of an artifact that you can put into the battlefield that isn't cast, can be interacted with as normal, be exiled, destroyed. However, it operates in different decks, so it doesn't fill up a deck slot. So this is basically just card advantage if you get an attraction out, because not only do attractions offer another target for opponents to interact with, another point of interaction, but also they do accrue value on their own. So I don't know exactly the specifics of what attractions do, not just what they do, but like exactly how they're triggered. But I believe sometime during your turn, it might be on your upkeep or during the beginning of your main phase, you get to roll a dice. And attractions are never, so you get to roll a d6, and you can roll 1 through 6. 1s are never good for you. They never offer a trigger. 6s always offer a trigger. But there's also usually another number between the 1 and 6 that will offer. If you hit that, you get the value on the attraction triggers. So, and there's a lot of cool attractions. I guess why wouldn't you put a lot of attractions in your deck, right? I guess the idea is if you have only 2 attractions in your deck, you know it's probably gonna be too good. But maybe you run out of attractions. I don't think you can reshuffle. So that's the caveat. In the event that you do have a bunch of attractions, Lifetime Pass Holder is gonna be there to just refill that attraction. Just give you many more attraction. Accrue that combat advantage, or accrue that advantage there, and all for 1 mana. And eventually you're gonna roll a 6 because through all your turns, how are you not? Like, this is a free game action. You're always gonna benefit off of having attraction other than that. Although it is definitely probably a slower mechanic to usually play with, but it's value. It's straight up value. I think that's what I like about this card. Basically, you just get value for. In the event that you do have to hit a 6, it's not guaranteed you'll hit a 6, right? Like, there's definitely a chance there. Like, you're never gonna hit a 6 in a game. But if you play this early enough, it's like you're gonna have a few turns. I think like 10 turns at minimum usually per game. I forget this stat is on Command Zone, but you're gonna hit the 6 one time, right? I forget the chances, but I want to say 1 through 6. I think that's like a super naive way of looking at it, anyways. But like, the odds are you're going to hit us. So this is gonna get you value, and you're gonna have a lot of fun on these, because it's just one of the things I do like about Magic is like a lot of the randomness, and some of the randomness is like stunted by the fact that you have to jump over a few hurdles. But once you do hit that randomness, usually it's beneficial, I think. And I mean that in sense of like mechanics like these, and I think that's what adds a lot of fun to it. So definitely looking to see this work in attraction-based decks. I think it might be a little slow just because there are a lot of hurdles you have to jump through. Just have like a lot of attraction cards and ways to pull off attractions, but when you do, this is gonna be like one of those key pieces, because you're probably gonna sack it too, right? Just like bust out all your they have a card called the most dangerous game. I wanted to review it, but I was like, oh, it's legendary. The reason why I don't want to review legendary cards is like literally everyone knows like this card is gonna have a deck build, so it's like I feel like not as interesting in hearing a take about it, which is why yeah, I think this is a cool card, probably gonna be placed in a lot of attraction based decks that are playing black. It seems like an auto include. Sacking it and then rolling a 6 for your attraction means you're basically paying 1 mana to draw a card, kind of, which is pretty neat. Honestly, if the attraction is bad enough, people probably won't hate it. Like if the attraction said like scry 1 if you roll like something like that, people probably won't target it, so you're just getting free scry. Yeah, this is a cool effect. I think this is a cool effect. If it's not as good as everyone, I guess I'm not sure if the comic nuts, but if it's not that good, people will definitely overthink it or won't waste their removal on it, because also it's just like a free card, right? Like I hate removing tokens, and this sort of in that sense it feels like removing a token. It's just the worst feeling ever. It's like, can you imagine like hitting a token instead of hitting like the 6 mana 6/6 that's gonna like kill you next turn? So yeah, there's not too much incentive to kill the action. Big fan of this card. It enables a lot of cool. And next up is Saw in Half. 2 and a black for an instant. Destroy target creature. If that creature dies this way, its controller creates 2 tokens that are copies of that, except their base power is half that creature's power. Their toughness is half that creature's rounded up each time. I think this is one of those cards that was heralded to be like one of those combo cards, which is probably true. I immediately saw this and I was like, yo, this is a decent removal piece, question mark. And then I was like, oh, I should keep reading this. Oh, we create a token, which is cool. It's definitely cool. I think that because it's rounded up each time, you can hit a 3/3 and still get a 1/1 out of it. That's pretty cool. So you basically get value. I know black doesn't have too many ETB triggering effects, but this is like one of those cards that you want to put. This is like really cool, neat effect. And in a pinch, it's also like pretty versatile because you can just destroy the creature that's like swinging in for lethal at you. I think that's pretty neat. I've heard, but I don't know for sure, that this card also helps with combos. The first combo I can think of, but I don't know if it's actually a combo, I haven't thought of it, I'm just out here, just like in this video without thinking about it, is just like, I'm thinking like Dualcaster Mage. Is Dualcaster Mage infinite here? If you cast this on a creature, okay, and it's on the stack, you cast a Dualcaster Mage, it copies it. The copy targets Dualcast. It goes infinite, right? Because it's rounded up half the toughness, so it's 1/1. TB, destroy the new one, or destroy the original, 2 new ones come in. I don't know, that's hurting my brain. There's too much value, I can't think of it. Yeah, Rakdos is the new sim. This is a cool card. I think I'm a fan of this card. I think that it offers a lot of unique effects that black I don't think usually gets in the event that like you're looking for a black base that really cares about ETBs. This is cool for that effect. I think it's also super versatile, and the fact that this card is 3 mana means it's probably worth playing in most decks, because if you think about it, you can even just like use it to sort of save your commander, right? Like if someone's attacking your commander or destroying it, I mean, target your own commander, destroy it, and you get if it's enough power and toughness, you get 2 copies, legendary rule, sack it, it's a new creature, you saved your commander. I think it's like super versatile. But also there's also the case where someone's coming and swinging for lethal, you have a temporary stop for it, but also, you know, a win con. This is a card that does it all. If only I knew the win con. I don't know. There's some mention on Reddit about how it works, but yeah, this card is super versatile. Definitely worth the spot in your deck. I'm a big fan of it. I thought about making that one Rakdos commander from Unfinity. I'm thinking this should probably go in it. I don't know if it'll work, but no, because you destroy it, it exiles the creature, right? So, but this card looks super. There's so much to do with it. So it's super like unintuitive at first when you think about it. It's just like, oh, destroy target creature, it's rounded up. Like, oh yeah, ETB is the first thing you notice. But like, then you think about it, it's like there's so much you can do with this. Yeah, big fan of this sort of design. Probably see play in most pods. I think this card is probably auto include most. But I keep saying that now that I'm looking at like my top cards for each set, and it just feels like these cards are like the reasons why power creep happens, is because the versatility and the new cards that they're releasing, it's just like unknown, right? I guess which is why power creeping exists. Like before, this card would have never existed, man. Like, can you imagine like before, like most of the cards are just like destroy target creature, full stop. And like even then, that was like too strong for like black. Like it had to be like a 4 mana card. But now it's like instant 3 mana, only 2 colorless pips, one black pip. It's just like over. I don't know. Yeah, this is a cool card. Cool card. Next card is Clown Car? Question mark. I was really unsure if I should this card, and I said because it seemed kind of meh at first, but then I thought about like the idea of permanence in like a lot of my artifact based decks, and I'm just like, okay, maybe this is actually worth it. This is probably
decent enough where, I don't know, maybe it's not decent. Maybe I'm like thinking over it now, and I'm just like, okay, maybe it is. It's an infinite mana outlet, but it's no walking blue. I'll say that. If you wait a turn, you could potentially win with it. Let me just read it. So clown car is X for an artifact vehicle with when clown car enters battlefield, roll X 6-sided die. For each odd result, create 1/1 clown robot artifact creature token. For each even result, put it plus crew 2, and it's a 1/1. So worse, it's a 0 mana 1/1, which is a free artifact. Okay, if you're playing things like Maria or Urza, this is a, I guess, free sort of mox, but also it does act as a infinite mana outlet that does require 1 turn to win, so that's cool. In the event that you're not playing OP artifact based decks, this can be artifact fodder. These are for artifact based decks that are, you know, cool, and in that event it's just like they're permanents that can be sacrificed. I'm thinking more in terms of like Oswald or, oh gosh, I forgot the name of that blue artifact creature commander that sacks stuff. It sacks artifact creatures for artifacts. Could be placed in there, and you have a bunch of artifact fodder in that case as well to get anything else you want on 1 card. That's really cool. I think that sort of idea is basically acts as card advantage in that situation where like you need to sacrifice it's all in 1 card for multiple things that it helps for multiple triggers, which I guess is why in the event that you can't use like that and you just use it as a regular old artifact vehicle, I would say if X is 6, this is basically a 3/3. Most cases it's probably a 4/4 with crew 2. Is it strong? You probably don't really care about it being in your deck, but it's in your deck. I don't know what to say about that. You probably want this as an artifact. It can crew itself. An artifact that can crew itself, that's pretty strong. I think that it's also the idea that even if this clown card gets destroyed, like the things that it made stick around, so it's like this persistent long-lasting effect of a card, and I think that's like really strong. A game that cares a lot about resources, if you can like squeeze out value from everything, generally like if that takes you far enough, you'll probably, you know, squeeze an extra few percentage points out there. I think that's what I'm trying to get at anyways, but maybe it's not too 1/1s can be used for a lot. Like you can also use it for things like Skull Clamp, makes a bunch of 1/1s. You can use it if you're playing like controlling deck. Oh, also you can play these in like a restack. So even if you're not an artifact based deck, this does seem to have like a decent amount of uses. Make a bunch of artifact that can then be populated pretty good. It'd be cool if like these, maybe it'd be OP, but like if these clowns like they died and they exploded, that's too much like an imp. I don't know, I think of like these weird Jack in a Box, like a lot of the games I play, and it's just like backfire from. I think this is a cool card. I'll definitely give it a shot. I think it's gonna be, I don't know, I'm buying. Free artifacts are free artifacts. Like there's a reason why mocks are, that is, they tap for mana. This does not tap for mana, but for playing Urza or Maria, this does tap for mana, which is why it's good. Oh, not only that, it taps for mana, but also it makes mana in Maria and Urza. So this is like 3 mana, make 3 mana. Like for Urza, it's make 3 blue mana. For Maria, it's make 3 green mana. Bruh, this just got completely nutty in it. Although I'm not sure if those decks run, I'm not